Welcome to the Creating a Resume workshop. This workshop will provide you with an overview of what needs to be included in an effective resume and what a quality resume looks like. Before we begin, you'll want to download these documents for your use: Resume Example and Optimal Resume Instructions. We'll be using the PowerPoint as a guideline for the workshop. Why write a resume? A resume is a concise, organized picture of you. It should include a career objective, personal contact information, your education and training, your work experience, any community involvement and volunteer work, and honors, awards, and activities that you would like to include. An effective resume tells a potential employer, graduate school committee, or internship committee what you have done. It presents you in the best light. It's pleasing to the eye. Lets your personality show through. It sparks interest in you and gets you the interview, which is the purpose of your resume. Be selective about what you include on your resume. Tailor to the specific job description. Never falsify or stretch information. Include only what you can confidently discuss in an interview. Make sure you use words appropriate for the industry or organization to which you are applying. Keep your resume to one page unless you have extensive applicable experience. And make sure you create a well-organized, readable layout. Use fonts that are easy to read, like Times Roman or New Century School Book. Use bulleted statements instead of paragraphs. Begin bulleted statements with action verbs, and be consistent in your verb tense. Tailor your resume to the specific job. Print out the description of the job, then highlight or underline key verbs and qualifications. Notice what has been highlighted in this example. Must be willing to work various hours, display a professional attitude, be ready to begin work on time, be an analytical or problem solver, be able to work independently, effectively present information, and be willing to work in a team environment. So find ways to include as many of these skills and requirements in your resume. The first thing you'll include on your resume is the heading with your personal contact information. Include your name, street address with city, state, and zip code, phone numbers where you can be reached, and your email address. Make sure your email address sounds professional enough to be used in an application. If it is not, you'll want to create a more professional sounding address to be used perhaps just for your job applications. The only social media URL you should include is one for a LinkedIn account if you have one, and this would include just professional information. Facebook is not an appropriate link to include. Look at the resume example that you downloaded to see where the heading is located. Next, you can include a professional objective. The objective is simply a statement of the purpose of your resume. It is optional, but it is a nice way to customize your resume for the particular job you are applying for. Notice the objective in the sample resume, and also the one here on your slide. It states the specific job title and the name of the company that has the vacancy. The next category to include is your education information. Always list the current school where you will receive your degree first. You'll need to include the name and location of the school, the name of your degree, your major, and graduation date. If you attended another college, you need to include it only if you earned a degree from there. It is not necessary to include your high school information. You'll want to include the jobs you have held because they show your employability, dependability, responsibility, and maybe leadership. Include the most recent work experience first with the name of your employer, the location, city, state, dates of employment, and specific duties performed. Begin each duty with a verb in the appropriate tense. Past tense if you no longer have the position, present tense if you are currently working in the position. You have some options when listing employment. If you have already worked in a job that is similar to the one for which you are applying, you may want to list this under a heading called Relevant Work Experience or Related Work Experience. This calls the potential employer's attention to the fact that you've already worked in a job with many of the skills needed for the new one. You may list other work experience in a heading called Additional Work Experience, and that would follow the Relevant Experience category. If you've had lots of job experience, you may want to just highlight that most critical to the new job by including it in a section titled Selected Work Experience, and choose not to include each and every job you've held. How you choose to list employment depends on your individual job history and the requirements of the job for which you are applying. An internship is actually a job, whether paid or unpaid. If you completed an internship, it should be included as a separate section titled Internship following your Education section. Notice the Work Experience section in the sample resume. This individual has completed an internship which has been placed in a separate category just below his education. His only job has been listed under the category Work Experience, or Experience as the example on the screen. Current research shows these are the common skills most employers are looking for. They want employees who have verbal communication skills, interpersonal skills, analytical skills, being able to work as a team member, and being flexible. Think of ways to demonstrate these skills on your resume. Sharing job-related skills and personal strengths is another way to customize your resume to a particular job. Brainstorm both job-related skills as well as more personal soft skills. What are soft skills? They are personal qualities that you can offer a new employer. During your summer job with the Forest Service, for example, you had to collaborate with individuals in the office, on the trail crew, and in the wildlife department. So you could include the word collaborative or team-oriented in a skills list to share that particular personal skill. Here is an example of a bulleted list of skills or strengths that is put in columns to vary the format of your resume. This is also a great way to include those skills that you have that match the keywords and requirements in your job description. As we said earlier, your resume is a picture of who you are and what you bring to an internship, a graduate school, or a job. You'll want to include information that shows you to be a well-rounded candidate. This is an additional way to customize your resume to showcase your individuality. Additional information you might want to include would be honors, awards, community and campus involvement, internships, special certifications, research or special academic projects, competitions, leadership activities, memberships, travel or study abroad, and scholarships. Some resume tips. Be concise. Keep your resume to as close as one page if possible. Be consistent with dates, titles, and locations. Make sure your abbreviations are the same throughout your resume. Don't fib, be honest, and don't exaggerate any information that you've included. Proofread your work and revise as much as necessary. Have someone else proofread your work. Make sure you use high quality paper. Avoid fancy fonts. Bold and underline headings so they stand out. Use bullets. Use standard size paper. And make your resume personal. It should reflect who you are. Some things to remember about resumes. Your resume is a tool to get you the interview. It must contain the education, skills, and experience that the employer is seeking. It needs to communicate and those elements very clearly and understandably. Because you can't be there to answer questions, it must stand on its own. And it is the employer's first impression of you and must be 100% perfect in format. You only have one chance to make a first impression. Often, when you must turn in a resume, employers may want a list of names of individuals who can affirm your ability to be a successful employee or student. Here are the rules for creating that list. References should be listed on a separate document, one page, that's not a part of your resume or cover letter pages. You'll need to include the full name, title or position, relationship to you, name and address of business or organization where they work, telephone numbers, and email addresses. Make sure you provide at least 3 and not more than 5 good solid references. And always contact your references before including them on your reference page. You'll need to ask if they would be willing to serve as a reference. Then provide them with your resume, cover letter, and a copy of the job description for which you are applying. Make sure you have their correct contact information. Here is an example of a reference page that can be turned in addition to your resume. Notice it is on a separate page and has the same contact information at the top that your resume does, as well as the title References, which is centered under the contact information. Presenting your application credentials to a potential employer. Obviously, if you will be uploading your resume, cover letter, and reference sheet, the preparation will be different than if you hand deliver or mail your paperwork. When the employer is physically receiving your materials, you'll want to assemble them in this order: cover letter on top, resume in the middle, reference page at the end. Never fold or staple your paperwork. Your sheet should be assembled with a paper clip and presented in a 9x12 manila envelope with the recipient's name and address on the front. Creating a resume is made easier by knowing what information to include and by using Optimal Resume, a free online program for students. If you create an account and use the program as an undergraduate, you may continue to use it for free after you graduate from CMU. Locate Optimal Resume on the CMU website and begin creating your resume now. Use the handout you downloaded to locate the program and guide you through the steps of creating a dynamite resume. Please visit your CMU Career Services office to make an appointment for help with your resume or reference page. We may be contacted by email, phone, or dropping into our office in room 106 of the University Center, just behind the Mav Card office. Thank you for participating in our resume writing workshop, and good luck creating that dynamite resume.